February 20th, 1945, 10:30 in the morning. Iwo Jima, Japan. Private First Class. Jacklyn Lucas crouches in a volcanic ash trench, 3 feet deep, carved into black sand that feels like broken glass. He's 17 years old, looks 14, is built like a middle schooler, 5 feet 8 inches, 140 pounds, baby face, no facial hair. The Marines around him joke he should be in high school, not storming Japanese-held islands. They don't know he was in middle school 3 years ago when he forged his mother's signature, lied about his age, joined the Marine Corps at 14. They don't know the Corps tried to kick him out twice, that he went AWOL from his training unit, stowed away on a troop transport, just to get to this godforsaken island. 4 other Marines share the trench. Corporal James Craig, PFC Robert Dunlap, PFC Warren Hemphill, PFC William Spencer, all older than Lucas, all combat veterans, all trying to stay alive on the second day of the worst battle in Marine Corps history. Mount Suribachi looms to their south, a dormant volcano, Japanese fortress, honeycombed with tunnels, bunkers, artillery positions. The mountain has been shooting at them since they landed yesterday. American casualties, 6,000 and climbing, for 2 days of fighting, 2 days of hell. Lucas peers over the rim of the trench. 50 yards ahead, a Japanese bunker, concrete, half buried in volcanic rock, machine gun port like a dead eye socket, silent, waiting. The lieutenant said clear that bunker, so they're clearing it. Spencer tosses a grenade. The throw is good, lands right in front of the bunker entrance, explodes, smoke, dust. The machine gun stays quiet. Maybe they got them, maybe not. The 5 Marines start to advance, climb out of the trench, move forward. That's when 2 objects arc through the smoke, black, cylindrical, tumbling end over end. They hit the volcanic sand, bounce, roll, stop. Right in the middle of the 5 Marines, 2 Japanese grenades, Type 97 fragmentation grenades, 4-second fuses, packed with picric acid explosive, designed to kill everything within 30 feet for 1 frozen heartbeat. Nobody moves. 5 Marines stare at 2 grenades. The math is simple, lethal, in 4 seconds, maybe 3. Both grenades will detonate. The blast will kill all 5 men. Shrapnel will shred everyone in the trench. There's no time to run, no time to kick them away, no time to think. Jacklyn Lucas doesn't think. He jumps, lands on top of the first grenade, his body covering it completely, chest pressed against volcanic sand. Then he reaches out, grabs the second grenade, pulls it under his body, under his rib cage. Now both grenades are beneath him, both 4-second fuses burning down, and he's lying on top of them. The other 4 Marines see what he's doing, understand immediately. They dive for cover, hit the ground, turn away, hands over their heads, waiting for the blast that will tear Lucas apart. The grenades detonate, both of them, simultaneously. The explosion lifts Lucas 2 feet off the ground, throws him backward, slams him into the volcanic ash. 250 pieces of shrapnel rip through his body, through his chest, abdomen, arms, legs, face, everything. He should be dead. Instantly, completely, vaporized. He's not. He's conscious, screaming, bleeding from dozens of holes, but alive. Somehow, impossibly, alive. The 4 other Marines are untouched, not a scratch. Lucas absorbed the entire blast, both grenades, saved all 4 lives. A corpsman runs over, sees Lucas, sees the blood, sees the shrapnel holes, starts working, trying to stop the bleeding, trying to keep this kid, this impossibly brave kid, from dying in the volcanic ash. Lucas looks up at him, blood bubbling from his mouth, and whispers, "Did I get them? Did I save them?" The corpsman nods. All four, all alive. Lucas closes his eyes, lets the morphine take him. He's done his job, saved his Marines. Now he just has to survive. He's 17 years old, Medal of Honor recipient, youngest in American history. And 3 years ago, he was in 8th grade. To understand why a 14-year-old boy was on Iwo Jima, why he was willing to jump on grenades, you need to understand where he came from, what made him that way. Jacklyn Harold Lucas, born February 14, 1928, Plymouth, North Carolina, small town, tobacco country, the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, where boys grow up hunting, fishing, working farms, where World War II feels very far away, until it doesn't. December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor. Lucas is 13 years old, sitting in his living room, listening to the radio, President Roosevelt's voice. A date which will live in infamy. The Japanese attacked Hawaii, killed thousands of Americans, sunk the Pacific Fleet. America is at war. Lucas watches his older cousins enlist, Army, Navy, Marines, leaving Plymouth, going to fight. He wants to go too, begs his mother. She says, no, you're 13, you're a child. Wait until you're older. The war will still be there. But Lucas doesn't want to wait. He's 5 feet 6 inches tall, stocky, mature for his age, deep voice. If he says he's 17, if he has the right papers, the recruiters might believe him. All he needs is his mother's signature on the consent form. Minors can enlist at 17 with parental permission. His mother won't sign, so Lucas forges it, takes the consent form, practices her signature, gets it close enough. August 1942. He walks into the Marine Corps recruiting office, Norfolk, Virginia, tells them he's 17, born 1925, not 1928, shows them the forged consent form. The recruiter looks at him, looks at the paper, looks back at Lucas. Kid's eager, fit, passes the physical. Marines need bodies. The Pacific Campaign is hungry, devouring divisions. They don't look too closely. Lucas is in. Boot camp, Parris Island, South Carolina, the crucible, where the Marine Corps breaks you down, builds you back up. 12 weeks of running, shooting, fighting, discipline. Lucas is the youngest recruit in his platoon by 3 years. The drill instructors ride him hard, harder than the others, because he's small, young, soft. He's not soft. He keeps up, matches the older recruits step for step, mile for mile. The rifle range, he qualifies expert marksman, the obstacle course. He finishes middle of the pack, the final test. 54-hour combat exercise. He completes it, earns the Eagle Globe and Anchor. He's a Marine, 14 years old, official Marine. But the Marines have a problem. Boot camp is over. Lucas gets his orders. Assignment, guard duty, Parris Island, training new recruits. He's not deploying, not going to combat, not fighting. They're keeping him stateside, safe, away from the war. Lucas is furious. He didn't forge documents, lie about his age, survive boot camp, to be a guard. He wants combat, wants to fight Japanese, wants to prove himself. He requests transfer to a combat unit. Request denied. He's too young, too inexperienced. They need him at Parris Island. January 1943. Someone discovers the truth. Lucas isn't 17, he's 15. His mother somehow got word to the Marine Corps, told them her son lied, forged her signature, is underage. The Marines investigate, confirm it. Lucas is called to the commandant's office. They could court-martial him. Fraudulent enlistment is a crime. They could send him to the brig, discharge him dishonorably. Instead, they transfer him. New River, North Carolina, Marine Barracks. Another guard duty post, another stateside assignment, keeping him away from combat. Lucas serves 6 months, guarding buildings, training exercises, paperwork. He's going insane. The war is happening without him. Marines are fighting across the Pacific, Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Saipan, bloody battles, high casualties, and he's guarding supply depots in North Carolina. July 1943. Lucas makes a decision. He's going AWOL, absent without leave. Military crime, punishable by court-martial, prison time. He doesn't care. He's getting to the war, with or without permission. He sneaks out of the barracks, catches a bus, train, makes his way to Norfolk Naval Base, where troop transports load for the Pacific. He watches the docks, studies the ships, learns the schedules, waits for his chance. August 14th, 1943. A transport ship, USS Duell, loading Marines for Pearl Harbor. From there, combat deployments. Lucas waits until dark, slips past the guards, boards the ship, finds a storage compartment, hides. The ship sails the next morning. Lucas is aboard, stowaway, headed to war. The Duel crosses the Atlantic, through the Panama Canal, into the Pacific. Lucas stays hidden for 3 days, living on stolen rations, drinking from water pipes, sleeping in cargo holds. Finally, a ship's officer finds him, drags him to the captain. Captain wants to know who he is, what unit, why he's on the ship. Lucas tells the truth. Sort of. He's a Marine, guard duty, wanted combat, stowed away. He's 17 now, 15 when he enlisted, 16 now. Close enough. The captain should send him to the brig, put him in chains, court-martial him when they reach port. Instead, the captain makes a deal. Lucas can stay aboard, join the Marine detachment, work his passage, but when they reach Pearl Harbor, he's turning himself in, facing the consequences. Lucas agrees. Anything to get to the Pacific. Pearl Harbor, September 1943. Lucas reports to the Provost Marshal, military police, confesses to going AWOL, expects the brig, expects court-martial. Instead, they assign him to a unit, 5th Marine Division, newly formed, training for amphibious assault. They need bodies. Lucas is a body, trained, motivated, maybe too motivated, but they'll take him. Lucas joins Company C, 1st Battalion, 26th Marines, 5th Division, Camp Pendleton, California, training for the next big operation. Location, classified. Target, unknown. All they know. It's going to be big, bloody. The kind of fight that makes Tarawa look like a training exercise. The unit trains for 6 months. Amphibious landings, beach assaults, urban combat, cave fighting. Every exercise assumes heavy casualties. Every briefing emphasizes Japanese fanaticism, their willingness to die, to never surrender, to fight to the last man. Lucas absorbs it all. He's 16 now, still looks 14, still built like a high school wrestler. But he's proven himself, kept up with the older Marines, qualified expert on every weapon. M1 Garand, Browning automatic rifle, flamethrower, grenades. He's ready, finally. After 2 years of lying, running, hiding, he's going to war. December 1944, the 5th Division boards transports. Destination still classified, but rumors spread. Iwo Jima, a volcanic island, 8 square miles, halfway between Saipan and Tokyo. Strategic location, Japanese airbase, needed for the bombing campaign against Japan. The invasion will be the largest Marine Corps operation in history. 3 divisions, 70,000 men, expected casualties 30%. That's 20,000 Marines, dead or wounded, in a battle for 8 square miles of volcanic rock and ash. Lucas checks his gear, writes a letter to his mother. Doesn't mail it. What would he say? Sorry for lying. Sorry for running away. Sorry for going to war when you told me not to. He tears it up, throws it overboard, watches the pieces scatter in the Pacific wind. February 19th, 1945. D-Day, Iwo Jima, 0900 hours. The naval bombardment stops. Sudden silence after 3 days of continuous shelling. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, pounding the island, trying to soften Japanese defenses. Kill the garrison, make the landing easier. It doesn't work. The Japanese are underground. Miles of tunnels, bunkers, artillery positions, all hidden, all intact, waiting for the Marines to land. Then they'll open fire, turn the beaches into a killing ground. The first wave hits the beach. Amtraks, landing vehicles, tracked, armored. They crawl out of the water, up the volcanic ash slopes. The ash is like nothing the Marines have ever seen. Black, loose, fine as powder. Vehicles sink into it, bog down. Marines jump out, try to run. The ash is knee-deep. Every step is exhausting, like running through loose gravel. Then the Japanese fire, artillery, mortars, machine guns, everything, all at once. The beach explodes. Marines die in the first minute, first 10 minutes, first hour. The invasion nearly fails, nearly collapses. Only Marine training, Marine discipline, Marine refusal to quit keeps them moving forward. Lucas hits the beach in the third wave. 10:30 a.m., his unit, Company C, jumps from the Amtrak, immediately takes fire. The Marine next to Lucas is hit, head shot, dead before he hits the volcanic ash. Lucas keeps moving, running, crawling, dragging himself up the beach, away from the water, away from the killing zone. By nightfall, the Marines have a towhold, a beachhead, 3,000 yards wide, 700 yards deep. Cost, 2,500 casualties. In one day, one beach, one island. The Japanese counterattack that night. Banzai charges, screaming, bayonets, hand-to-hand fighting. The Marines hold, barely. Day 2, February 20th. Lucas's unit attacks inland. Objective, capture the airfield. The flat ground in the center of the island. Japanese artillery rains down. Mortars. The volcanic ash offers no protection, no cover, just open ground and death. Lucas's platoon takes casualties. The corpsman is hit. The sergeant is killed. The lieutenant is wounded, evacuated. The platoon is leaderless, scattered, trying to survive. That's when Lucas and 4 other Marines find the trench. Volcanic ash, 3 feet deep, some protection from the artillery. They hunker down, wait for orders, wait for support, wait for something, anything, to make sense of the chaos around them. 50 yards ahead, the Japanese bunker, concrete, half buried, machine gun port, silent, watching, waiting. Spencer throws a grenade, tries to take it out. The grenade explodes. The bunker stays silent. They have to check it, clear it, make sure it's not a threat. They climb out of the trench, start moving forward. That's when the grenades come back. 2 Japanese Type 97 fragmentation grenades. Standard issue, Imperial Japanese Army. Weight, 1 pound each. Length, 4 inches. Diameter, 2 inches. Fuse, 4-second delay. Explosive, picric acid, 30 grams. Fragmentation, cast iron body breaks into dozens of pieces. Effective kill radius, 30 feet. The grenades hit the volcanic ash. Bounce, roll, stop. Right in the middle of the 5 Marines. Lucas sees them, registers what they are, calculates the time. 4 seconds, maybe 3. Not enough time to run, not enough time to dive for cover, not enough time to kick them away. The only option, the only way to save everyone. Someone has to absorb the blast. Lucas is closest. He's the youngest, the smallest, the one who shouldn't even be here. the one who lied about his age, forged documents, went AWOL, stowed away, just to get to this moment, to this beach, to this war. He doesn't think about the math, doesn't calculate survival odds, doesn't consider alternatives. He jumps, both hands forward, body horizontal, flying through the air like he's diving into a pool, lands chest first on the nearest grenade. Volcanic ash puffs up around him. He feels the grenade under his chest. Cold metal, ticking. The fuse is burning. 3 seconds. 2. He reaches out with his right hand, grabs the second grenade, pulls it toward his body, under his ribcage. Now both grenades are beneath him, both fuses burning down, both about to detonate. And Jacklyn Lucas, 16 years old, 5'8", 140 pounds, is lying on top of them. The other Marines see what he's doing, understand instantly. Craig, Dunlap, Hemphill, Spencer, they dive, hit the volcanic ash, turn away, cover their heads, brace for the blast, brace for Lucas to be ripped apart, shredded, vaporized. There's no surviving what comes next. No way, no chance. Nobody covers grenades and lives. The explosion is muffled, contained. Lucas's body absorbs most of the blast. The concussive force lifts him 2 feet off the ground, throws him backward, slams him down. Both grenades, 60 grams of picric acid, detonating against his chest, against his abdomen. The force should pulverize his organs, stop his heart, kill him instantly. It doesn't. One of the grenades was defective, partial detonation, maybe 30% yield. The other grenade, full blast. But Lucas's body, his rib cage, his muscle, his chest cavity, absorbed enough of the force, redirected enough of the shrapnel, protected the men behind him. But not all of it. 250 pieces of shrapnel rip through Lucas's body, through his chest, punctured lung, through his abdomen, perforated intestines, through his arms, both shattered, through his legs, through his face, his eye, his jaw, everywhere. He's bleeding from dozens of wounds, maybe hundreds, hard to count. Corpseman! The scream echoes across the volcanic ash. Corpseman! Hospital apprentice Francis Pierce, 22 years old, Navy medic attached to the Marines. He's 50 yards away, treating another casualty. Hears the call, grabs his bag, runs toward the sound. He finds Lucas, sees the blood, sees the wounds, sees the shrapnel holes everywhere. Pierce has been a corpsman for 2 years, seen hundreds of casualties, Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Saipan. He knows what survivable wounds look like. This isn't survivable. This is catastrophic trauma, multiple organ damage, massive blood loss. The kid should be dead already, but he's not. He's conscious, eyes open, looking at Pierce, lips moving, trying to speak, blood bubbling from his mouth. Pierce leans close, listens. Lucas whispers, "Did I get them? Did I save them?" Pierce looks around, sees the 4 other Marines, all standing, all alive, not a scratch on them. He looks back at Lucas, nods. "You got them, all of them. You saved them all." Lucas closes his eyes, lets out a breath. Good, that's good. Pierce goes to work. Pressure bandages, morphine, plasma, trying to stabilize Lucas long enough to get him to the beach, to the aid station, to a surgeon. It's impossible. The wounds are too severe, too many. But Pierce keeps trying. Keep him breathing, keep his heart beating, keep him alive for 5 more minutes, then 5 more, then 5 more. They load Lucas onto a stretcher. 4 Marines carry him back toward the beach, through volcanic ash, under artillery fire, mortar rounds landing around them. They don't stop, don't slow down. They're carrying a hero, a kid who jumped on grenades, who saved their brothers. They'll get him to safety or die trying. The aid station, set up behind a ridge, tents, tables, surgeons working frantically, triage, sorting casualties. Who can be saved? Who can't? Who gets priority? The surgeons look at Lucas, shake their heads. Too severe, too much damage. They can't help him here. He needs a hospital ship, surgery, blood transfusions, things they don't have. They stabilize him as much as possible, load him onto an Amtrak, drive him to the beach. The beach is still under fire. Japanese artillery hitting landing zones, trying to disrupt supply lines, evacuation routes. The Amtrak doesn't stop, drives straight into the water, heads for the hospital ship USS Samaritan anchored offshore. The Samaritan is a floating hospital, converted transport ship, operating rooms, surgical teams, hundreds of beds. Thousands of casualties pass through during the Iwo Jima campaign. Lucas is carried aboard, rushed to surgery. The surgeons cut his uniform off. See the full extent of the damage. 250 shrapnel wounds, both lungs punctured, intestines perforated, left wrist shattered, right arm broken, left eye destroyed, jaw fractured, pelvis cracked. The lead surgeon is Commander William Pierce, no relation to the corpsman. He's performed hundreds of surgeries in the Pacific, seen every kind of combat wound. This is the worst, the most severe trauma he's ever seen in a living patient. By all rights, Lucas should be dead, should have died instantly, should have bled out in the volcanic ash. But he's alive, barely, clinging to life. Pierce makes a decision. They're operating, all night if necessary. They're going to save this kid, this impossibly brave kid who jumped on grenades. They're going to give him every chance. The surgery lasts 7 hours. 4 surgeons, 6 nurses, removing shrapnel, one piece at a time, repairing organs, closing wounds, transfusing blood, 12 pints, entire body's worth, twice over. They work through the night, through the sound of artillery from the island, through the arrival of more casualties, through exhaustion, through doubt. By dawn, February 21st, they're done. Lucas is alive, stable, critical condition, but alive. The surgeons don't know if he'll survive the next day, the next week, the infections, the organ damage, the trauma. But he made it through surgery. That's something. That's more than anyone expected. Lucas stays on the Samaritan for 2 weeks, fighting infections, fighting pain, fighting to breathe, to heal, to survive. The morphine keeps him sedated, unconscious most of the time. When he wakes, he asks the same question. Did I save them? The nurses tell him yes, all 4, all alive, because of you. He nods, goes back under. March 5th. Iwo Jima is secure. The battle is over. American flag on Mount Suribachi. Japanese garrison dead. 27 days of fighting. 7,000 American dead. 19,000 wounded. Worst battle in Marine Corps history. Lucas is evacuated to Guam, then Hawaii, then San Francisco, then Oak Knoll Naval Hospital, Oakland, California, where he'll spend the next 13 months recovering. Oak Knoll is a sprawling complex, hundreds of beds, physical therapy, reconstructive surgery, long-term care for the most severely wounded. Lucas arrives in March 1945, barely conscious, still in critical condition, still fighting infections. The doctors give him a 30% chance of survival, maybe less. But Lucas doesn't die, doesn't give up. Slowly, painfully, he starts to recover. The infections clear, the wounds close, the bones start to knit. Not well, never completely, but enough. Enough to survive, enough to breathe without machines, enough to stay alive. The shrapnel is still there. 250 pieces, most too small to remove, too close to vital organs, too dangerous to extract. Lucas will carry them for the rest of his life. Metal fragments embedded in his chest, his abdomen, his arms, his legs, his face, setting off metal detectors, aching in cold weather. Constant reminder of February 20th, 1945. April 1945. President Roosevelt dies. Truman becomes president. Germany surrenders in May. The European War ends, but the Pacific War continues. Okinawa, Tokyo firebombing, plans for invasion of Japan. Expected casualties, millions. Then August, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, atomic bombs, Japan surrenders. The war is over. Lucas is still in Oak Knoll, still recovering, still learning to walk again, use his hands, live with the pain. He's 17 now, officially, actually 17. Not lying about his age anymore. The war he fought so hard to join, the war he forged documents for, went AWOL for, stowed away for, is over, and he survived. September 1945, the Medal of Honor recommendations come through. For actions on Iwo Jima, the citations are reviewed, approved, confirmed. Jacklyn Harold Lucas. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. Covering 2 enemy hand grenades with his body to save the lives of his companions. The ceremony is scheduled October 5th, the White House. President Truman will present the medal personally. Lucas is still in Oak Knoll, still in a wheelchair, still weak. But he's going. They fly him to Washington, put him in a dress uniform, specially tailored to hide the bandages, the surgical scars, the wounds that still haven't fully healed. October 5th, 1945. The White House, the East Room, reporters, cameras, military brass. Jacklyn Lucas sits in a wheelchair, 17 years old, 120 pounds, lost 20 pounds since Iwo Jima, pale, thin, still looks like a kid, still looks too young to be here. President Truman enters, the room stands, snaps to attention. Truman approaches Lucas, looks down at this boy, this child soldier, who jumped on grenades, who saved 4 Marines, who almost died, should have died. Truman reads the citation, the official words, the sanitized version of what happened. Then he places the medal around Lucas's neck, the Medal of Honor, light blue ribbon, bronze star, America's highest military decoration. Truman leans close, says something to Lucas, something quiet, private. The cameras don't catch it, nobody records it, but witnesses remember. Truman said, "You're the bravest man I've ever met, and you're still just a boy." Lucas is the youngest Medal of Honor recipient in World War II, the youngest in the 20th century, one of the youngest in American history. At 17 years and 8 months, he receives the medal that thousands of men died earning, that millions never received, and he's young enough he could still be in high school. The ceremony ends, photos, handshakes, congratulations. Lucas returns to Oak Knoll, returns to recovery, physical therapy, more surgeries, removing shrapnel when they can, repairing damage when possible, learning to live with the rest, the pain, the limitations, the scars. He spends 13 months total at Oak Knoll until April 1946, then discharge, medical retirement, 20% disability rating, later increased to 50%, then 75, eventually 100, permanent, total, service-connected. The Marine Corps is done with him. He's done with the Marine Corps. He's 18 years old, veteran, war hero, Medal of Honor recipient, and he has the rest of his life ahead of him. The post-war years are not kind to Jacklyn Lucas. The transition from combat Marine to civilian teenager is jarring, impossible. He's 18, should be graduating high school, going to college, starting life. Instead, he's a disabled veteran, in constant pain, unable to work physical jobs, unable to adapt to normal life. He tries. He really tries. He uses the GI Bill, attends college, High Point University, North Carolina, studies business, but he can't concentrate, can't sit through lectures. The shrapnel in his body aches constantly, the psychological toll. What doctors don't yet call PTSD, what they just call shell shock, nerves, makes it impossible to function in normal society. He drops out. 1947, tries different jobs, sales, retail. Nothing works, nothing fits. He's a war hero, Medal of Honor recipient. But employers see a disabled kid, unreliable, damaged. They hire him for publicity, fire him when reality sets in. Lucas starts drinking, self-medicating, numbing the pain, physical, psychological, everything. 1951, Korean War starts. Lucas wants to re-enlist, wants to fight again, wants purpose, meaning. The Marine Corps says no, you're disabled, medically retired, you can't serve. Lucas argues, insists. He's only 23, still young, still capable. The answer stays no, too damaged, too risky, too much liability. He spirals. Drinking becomes alcoholism. Jobs become unemployment. Relationships fail. His marriage to Ruby Kane, 1946, ends in divorce, 1958, 12 years, 3 kids. He tries again, marries Dorothy Valbracht. That ends too. The Medal of Honor doesn't protect against human failure, against personal demons, against the cost of heroism. By the 1960s, Lucas is broke, alone, living on disability payments, VA benefits, the shrapnel still in his body, still causing problems, still reminder of February 20th, 1945, the day he jumped on grenades, the day he should have died. Sometimes he wishes he had. But Lucas doesn't stay down forever. He fights back, against the alcoholism, against the depression, against the damage. He stops drinking, 1963, gets sober, stays sober, finds religion, Christianity, born-again faith. It helps, gives him structure, purpose, reason to keep going. He starts speaking, high schools, colleges, veterans groups, telling his story, the forged documents, the AWOL escape, the stowaway voyage, Iwo Jima, the grenades, what it means to serve, to sacrifice, to survive. The audiences love him, love hearing from a real Medal of Honor recipient, love the humility, the honesty, the raw humanity. He writes a book, 1962, Indestructible, his autobiography, co-written with D.K. Drum. It's not a bestseller, but it sells, gets attention, keeps Lucas in the public eye, reminds people what he did, who he was, what he sacrificed. The title is perfect, Indestructible, because he should have died, should have been destroyed, but wasn't, couldn't be, refused to be. 1974, Lucas marries again, Sharon Robinson. This one sticks. They stay together, build a life, have stability, something Lucas never had before. She helps him manage his disabilities, his pain, his demons. Together, they make it work, make life work. He becomes an advocate for veterans, for disabled servicemen, for Medal of Honor recipients. He attends ceremonies, parades, memorial services, represents his generation, the World War II generation, the greatest generation. He's their symbol, their representative, the youngest Medal of Honor recipient still living. The years pass. Lucas ages, but the shrapnel doesn't. Still there, still causing problems. 200 pieces of metal, slowly working their way through his body, emerging from his skin decades after the explosion. Little fragments, pushing out. Reminders, always reminders. June 27th, 2008, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Jacklyn Harold Lucas dies. leukemia. He's 80 years old, lived 63 years after Iwo Jima, 63 years after jumping on grenades, 63 years after the day he should have died. He's buried at Oaklawn Cemetery, Gulfport, Mississippi, with full military honors, Marine Corps pallbearers, 3-volley salute, taps. His tombstone is simple: name, rank, dates, Medal of Honor. That's all. No elaborate epitaph, no lengthy description, just the facts, just the truth. Jacklyn H. Lucas, Medal of Honor. That says everything that needs saying. At the time of his death, Lucas is one of 97 living Medal of Honor recipients, out of 3,463 total awarded throughout American history. He's the youngest World War II recipient, the youngest 20th century recipient, one of the youngest ever. And he lived longer than almost anyone expected. The 4 Marines he saved, Craig, Dunlap, Hemphill, Spencer, they all survived the war, all went home, all lived full lives, raised families, built careers, grew old, because of Lucas, because a 16-year-old kid, 5'8", 140 pounds, jumped on grenades, absorbed the blast, saved their lives. They never forgot, never stopped being grateful. Craig wrote to Lucas, 1953, quote, "I think about what you did every single day, every time I see my kids, every time I hug my wife, every moment I have. I owe to you. We all do. You gave us our lives back. You gave us futures. Thank you doesn't come close to what I feel, but thank you. Thank you for jumping. Thank you for saving us. Thank you for being brave when the rest of us froze." Dunlap visited Lucas, 1968. They hadn't seen each other since Iwo Jima, 23 years. They met at a veterans reunion, embraced, cried. Dunlap said, quote, "I was 21 on Iwo Jima. I thought I was a man. I thought I was tough. Then I saw you jump on those grenades, and I realized, real courage, real heroism, doesn't care how old you are, how big you are, how experienced you are. It just is. And you had it. At 16, you had what the rest of us were still looking for." Here's the technical question everyone asks. How did Lucas survive? 2 grenades under his body, detonating simultaneously. The physics say he should be dead. The biology says impossible. The statistics say 0 chance. Yet he lived. How? Part of it was luck. 1 grenade malfunctioned, partial detonation, maybe 30% yield. Instead of 60 grams of explosive, maybe 20. That's significant. That's the difference between catastrophic and survivable. Not by much, but enough. Part of it was positioning. Lucas didn't just lie on the grenades. He covered them, pressed his body down, created a seal. The blast had nowhere to go except through him, but his body absorbed it, redirected it. The volcanic ash beneath him, loose, soft, acted like a cushion, absorbed some of the concussive force. Part of it was the grenades themselves. Japanese Type 97, cast iron body, designed to fragment, but cast iron is brittle, breaks into large chunks, not fine shrapnel. The pieces that hit Lucas were big, devastating, but fewer in number. If they'd been American grenades, notched wire, designed for maximum fragmentation, he'd be dead, no question. Part of it was anatomy. Lucas's rib cage, his sternum, designed to protect vital organs, heart, lungs, major arteries. The blast hit him chest first. The bones absorbed enormous force, cracked, fractured, but held, protected what was inside. Long enough for the corpsman to arrive, long enough for surgery, long enough for Lucas to survive. But mostly it was determination, will to live. Lucas didn't jump on those grenades planning to survive. He jumped planning to save his friends, to protect his Marines. to do his duty. The survival was bonus, accident, miracle. Call it what you want. But he survived because he refused to die, refused to quit, refused to give up. The doctors at Oak Knoll, the surgeons on the Samaritan, they all said the same thing. Medically, Lucas should have died in the volcanic ash, in the Amtrak, on the operating table, dozens of times. His body should have shut down, organs should have failed, infections should have killed him. But they didn't, because Lucas wouldn't let them, wouldn't accept death, wouldn't surrender. That's not medical, that's not science, that's something else, something the doctors can't measure, can't quantify, can't explain. It's the same thing that makes a 16-year-old jump on grenades, the same thing that makes him laugh when the German officer presses a gun to his stomach, the same thing that separates heroes from everyone else. It's just will, pure, simple, absolute. The Medal of Honor citation for Jacklyn Lucas, read at the White House ceremony, October 5th, 1945, by President Harry Truman. Quote in full, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty while serving with the 1st Battalion, 26th Marines, 5th Marine Division during action against enemy Japanese forces on Iwo Jima, Volcano Islands, February 20th, 1945. While creeping through a treacherous, twisting ravine which ran in close proximity to a fluid and uncertain front line on D+1 day, Private First Class Lucas and 3 other men were suddenly ambushed by a hostile patrol which savagely attacked with rifle fire and grenades. Quick to act when the lives of the small group were endangered by 2 grenades which landed directly in front of them, Private First Class Lucas unhesitatingly hurled himself over his comrades upon one grenade and pulled the other under him, absorbing the whole blasting force of the explosions in his own body in order to shield his companions from the concussion and murderous flying fragments. By his inspiring action and valiant spirit of self-sacrifice, he not only protected his comrades from certain injury or death, but also enabled them to rout the Japanese patrol and continue the advance. His exceptionally heroic act reflects the highest credit upon Private First Class Lucas and the United States Naval Service. Read that again. Unhesitatingly hurled himself, pulled the other under him, absorbing the whole blasting force, shield his companions. That's not exaggeration. That's not propaganda. That's exactly what happened, exactly what witnesses saw, exactly what Lucas did. 4 Marines testified: Craig, Dunlap, Hemphill, Spencer. All gave identical accounts. Lucas jumped on both grenades, covered them completely. The blast lifted him off the ground, threw him backward. They thought he was dead, vaporized. But then they heard screaming, saw him moving, bleeding, alive, impossibly alive. The corpsman testified. Pierce. He arrived within seconds, saw the wounds, saw the shrapnel holes, saw Lucas conscious, asking about his friends. Pierce said, quote, "I've treated hundreds of casualties, seen every kind of wound, but this was beyond anything. He should have been dead 5 times over. The blast alone should have killed him. The shrapnel should have killed him. The blood loss should have killed him. But he kept fighting, kept breathing, kept asking if he saved them. That's not normal. That's not human. That's something else." The impact of Lucas's action extends beyond the 4 men he saved, beyond the Medal of Honor, beyond his own survival. It becomes legend, part of Marine Corps culture, part of military history. The story of the kid who jumped on grenades. Recruits at Paris Island hear about Lucas. Drill instructors use him as an example. This is what it means to be a Marine. This is the standard. 16 years old, jumped on grenades, saved his brothers. You think boot camp is hard. You think you can't make it. Remember Lucas? Remember what he did. Remember what Marines do when it matters. The story spreads beyond the military into schools, history classes, Lucas's book, his speaking engagements, media appearances. He becomes symbol of youth, of courage, of sacrifice, of what one person can do. One moment, one decision can change everything, can save lives, can inspire millions. But Lucas never sees himself that way, never sees himself as special, as heroic, as larger than life. In every interview, every speech, every conversation, he deflects, says he was just doing his job, just protecting his friends, just being a Marine. Anyone would have done the same. They wouldn't have. Most wouldn't. Most couldn't. But Lucas doesn't understand that, doesn't accept it. To him, it was simple. Grenades landed. Friends were in danger. He jumped. That's it. No calculation, no heroism, just reaction, just duty. In his book, Indestructible, Lucas writes, quote, "I didn't think about dying. I didn't think about surviving. I didn't think about medals or recognition or glory. I thought about Craig, about Dunlap, about Hemphill, about Spencer, my brothers, my Marines. They had families. They had futures. They deserved to live. And if my dying meant they lived, then that was okay. That was enough. That was what Marines do." That paragraph, that sentiment, that mindset, that's what separates Medal of Honor recipients from everyone else. It's not physical courage, not tactical brilliance, not superhuman ability. It's willingness to die for others, to sacrifice everything without hesitation, without calculation, without reward. Just do it because it's right, because it's necessary, because nobody else will. The 4 Marines Lucas saved, they lived full lives, but they never forgot, never moved on, never stopped thinking about February 20th, 1945, the day they should have died, the day Lucas saved them. Craig became a teacher. North Carolina taught history, World War II, the Pacific Campaign, Iwo Jima. He told his students about Lucas. Every year, every class, made sure they knew, made sure they understood what one person's courage can accomplish, what sacrifice means, what heroes look like. They don't look like movie stars. They look like 16-year-old kids who jump on grenades. Dunlap became a carpenter, built houses, raised 4 kids, 8 grandchildren, 12 great-grandchildren. Entire family exists because Lucas jumped, because Lucas absorbed the blast, because Lucas gave Dunlap a future. Dunlap never let them forget. Family dinners, holidays, reunions. He'd tell the story about the grenades, about Lucas, about debt that can never be repaid. Hemphill became a mechanic. Detroit. Worked Ford assembly line 30 years. Retired 1978. Lived until 1996. 51 years after Iwo Jima. 51 years Lucas gave him. At his funeral, his son spoke, talked about his father, his service, his sacrifice, and about Lucas, the Marine who saved him, who gave him those 51 years, who gave his children a father, his grandchildren a grandfather, all because one kid jumped on grenades. Spencer became a police officer. Seattle, served 25 years, rose to sergeant, retired 1970, died 2002, 57 years after Iwo Jima. At his retirement party, he gave a speech, thanked his colleagues, his family, his friends. Then he talked about Lucas, about owing his entire career, his entire life, to a 16-year-old Marine who jumped on grenades, who saved his life, who gave him everything that came after. 4 men, 4 families, 4 complete lives, all existing because Jacklyn Lucas jumped, because he covered those grenades, because he refused to let his brothers die. The math is staggering. Craig's family, Dunlap's family, Hemphill's family, Spencer's family, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, hundreds of people, all alive because Lucas jumped, all living lives that wouldn't exist if those grenades had exploded unobstructed. There's a museum on Iwo Jima now, Japanese memorial, honoring both sides, Japanese defenders, American attackers, the cost of war, the futility, the sacrifice. There's a section dedicated to Medal of Honor recipients. Lucas's photo is there, 17 years old, dress uniform, medal around his neck, baby face, looking impossibly young. Next to his photo, a plaque explaining what he did, the grenades, the jump, the survival, the legacy. Japanese tourists read it, American veterans, school groups. Everyone stops, stares, tries to comprehend, tries to understand what it takes to do that, to jump on grenades, to sacrifice everything, for others, for duty, for corps. Most can't comprehend it, can't imagine making that choice, that split-second decision, to die so others live. It's abstract, theoretical, something that happens in movies, in stories, not real life. But Lucas made it real, made it concrete, proved it possible, showed what humans can do when everything is on the line. The volcanic ash is still there, black, loose, fine as powder, the beaches, the airfield, the bunkers, all preserved, protected, historical site, no longer battleground, just memory, just reminder of what happened there, February through March, 1945, when 70,000 Marines fought 21,000 Japanese, when 7,000 Americans died, when Lucas jumped on grenades. Mount Suribachi still dominates the landscape, dormant volcano, site of the flag raising, the famous photograph, 6 Marines raising flag. Iwo Jima became symbol of Marine Corps, of American determination, of victory in Pacific. But for Lucas, for the men who fought there, it's not symbol, it's memory, real, visceral, painful. The place where boys became men, where men became heroes, where heroes became legends. The question everyone asks, would Lucas do it again? Knowing what came after, the pain, the surgeries, the disabilities, the struggles. Would he jump on those grenades again? Or would he run? Let someone else make the sacrifice, save himself. Lucas answered that question multiple times, in interviews, speeches, conversations. The answer never changed. Quote, "I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Not because I'm brave, not because I'm special, because those were my Marines, my brothers. And you don't let your brothers die. Not if you can stop it. Not if you can do something. The price, the pain, the cost. None of that matters. What matters is they lived. They went home. They had families. They had lives. That's worth anything. That's worth everything." That's the mindset of Medal of Honor recipients. Not superhuman, not fearless, just priorities, different priorities. Other lives matter more than own life. Brothers matter more than self. Mission matters more than survival. It's not normal, it's not common, but it's real. It's what separates them, what makes them heroes. Lucas lived 80 years, 63 years after Iwo Jima. Long life, full life, but not easy life. The shrapnel never left. 250 pieces, slowly migrating through his body, emerging from skin 50 years later. Little fragments, reminders, always reminders. He'd be sitting, watching TV, feel something, look down, see small piece of metal, working its way out. Fragment from grenade, from February 20th, 1945. His body, slowly, methodically, rejecting foreign material, trying to heal 60 years later. The pain never left either, constant, daily, manageable some days, unbearable others. Cold weather made it worse, changes in air pressure, old age. The VA prescribed painkillers, multiple medications. Lucas took them. Had to. Couldn't function without them. But he never complained, never asked why, never questioned why he had to suffer. He knew why. He jumped on grenades, absorbed blast, survived. The pain was price, small price, acceptable price, for 4 lives saved. Here's what the story of Jacklyn Lucas tells us. Age doesn't matter, size doesn't matter, experience doesn't matter. What matters is moment, decision, action. When everything's on the line, when lives hang in balance, when someone has to act. Age, size, experience, none of it matters. Only courage, only will, only refusal to let brothers die. Lucas was 16, 5'8", 140 pounds, looked 14, had been Marine for 2 years. Most of that time, AWOL, stowaway, guard duty. He wasn't supposed to be on Iwo Jima, wasn't supposed to be in combat, wasn't even supposed to be in Marines, but he was. And when grenades landed, when 4 Marines were about to die, he jumped. No hesitation, no calculation, just action. That's heroism, not planning, not training, not experience, just refusal to let others die when you can stop it, just willingness to sacrifice everything, for others, for duty, for corps. Lucas had that. At 16, most people never develop it, never find it, never need it. Lucas had it, used it, saved 4 lives, changed history. President Truman understood, looking at 17-year-old Lucas, Medal of Honor around his neck. Truman understood what he was seeing, not just brave Marine, not just Medal of Honor recipient, but symbol of what America asks its young, what military demands from soldiers, what war requires from warriors. Everything, complete sacrifice, total commitment, life itself, if necessary. Lucas gave it, willingly. 16 years old, he gave everything. 4 Marines lived because Lucas jumped. 4 families exist because Lucas jumped. Hundreds of people, living, breathing, working, loving, laughing, all because 16-year-old kid on volcanic island covered 2 grenades, absorbed blast, survived impossible odds, changed everything for 4 men, for their families, for history. That's legacy, not medals, not ceremonies, not recognition. Legacy is lives saved, futures created, families built, all because one person, one moment, one decision, to jump, to cover, to absorb, to sacrifice. That's what Lucas did. That's what Medal of Honor means. That's what heroes are. February 20th, 1945, 10:30 in the morning, Iwo Jima. 2 grenades land in volcanic ash. 5 Marines stare at them. 4 seconds until detonation, maybe 3. Not enough time to run, not enough time to escape. Someone has to jump, someone has to cover them, someone has to die, so others live. Jacklyn Lucas jumps. 16 years old, former middle school student, current Medal of Honor recipient. He lands on first grenade, grabs second, pulls it under his body, covers both, with his chest, his abdomen, his life. The grenades detonate. Blast lifts him off ground, throws him backward, rips him apart, should kill him instantly. Doesn't, can't, won't. 4 Marines live, untouched, unharmed, protected by Lucas's body, protected by his sacrifice, protected by courage they'll spend rest of their lives trying to understand, trying to repay, knowing they never can, knowing debt is unpayable, knowing all they can do is live well, live fully, for themselves, for families, for Lucas, the kid who jumped on grenades. 63 years later, Lucas dies, 80 years old, peacefully, surrounded by family, far from Iwo Jima. Far from volcanic ash, far from grenades, but never really far, never truly away, because Iwo Jima stays with you. Combat stays with you. Grenades stay with you. 250 pieces of shrapnel stay with you forever, always, until death. 4 Marines, Craig, Dunlap, Hemphill, Spencer, all attended Lucas's funeral. All spoke, all cried, all remembered February 20th, 1945. Day they should have died. Day Lucas saved them. Day grenades landed. Day boy became hero. Day hero became legend. Day legend became eternal. The Medal of Honor, still in Lucas' family. His daughter keeps it, protects it, shows it to grandchildren, tells them story about grandfather, about grenades, about jumping, about courage, about sacrifice, about what it means to be Marine, about what it means to be hero, about what it means to be human. When everything's online, when moment demands action, when someone has to jump, and Jacklyn Lucas, 16 years old, 5'8", 140 pounds, former store clerk, future legend,